Good morning, Suprabhat. Good morning to all participants, our honorable expert and CCRT officials, Dr. Sandeep Sharma, Madam Saloni Priya, and technical unit. Today, we are reaching at the 5th day of our e-learning workshop. We have passed last 4 days very successfully with very good lectures, very effective interactions on many useful subjects. Today, we have 2 sessions. In the first session from 10 to 11:30 is a traditional craft of India. Then second session is from 11:45 to 1:15, that is Satriya dance. Satriya dance. So we have 2 beautiful lectures today, and I hope everybody will be benefited as we all did in last 4 days. The first subject of the day is traditional craft of India. That will be addressed by Dr. Mousumi Kandali. Dr. Kandali is already in the screen. I welcome Dr. Mousumi Kandali to our session 1. I must tell something about Dr. Mousumi Kandali. She is an assistant professor, Department of Cultural Studies, Tezpur Central University, Assam. And more of that, she is famous as a bilingual writer. Our friends from Assam definitely know her. She is a bilingual writer in Assamese and English. She is an art critic, historian, and translator. She has got so many books, valuable books in her credit. She is an MA in art history and aesthetics and philosophy. She was an assistant professor in the School of Culture and Creative Expressions, Ambedkar University of Social Science and Humanities, New Delhi. She is also recipient of many prestigious awards and recognition for her creative work in the field of art and literature. And she was also a member of a couple of art and literary delegations to abroad from India. And more of that, she has extensively documented and developed a database archive and human resource network in the field of visual art, culture, and literary in Northeastern region. That's a very significant work she is doing. So you are very much lucky to have her as today's expert on Indian traditional craft. I hope everybody will be greatly benefited out of it. But prior to that, I must request our TISA participants, please be attentive, please be seated in a disturbance-free, noise-free zone. Yesterday we have seen that there are a lot of noises and some family members also appeared in the screen. So this sort of things definitely disturbing the proceeding. So I request all the TISA participants to be attentive on our both the sessions today. Thank you all and hope for a very successful session. I once again invite Dr. Mousumi Kandali to address the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Pradeep Pujarida, for your wonderful introduction, but I think it's a little exaggerated. I'll try my best, but let me tell you, because all of you have, is there some kind of echoing? Is the audio?
रंजय ब्रेक हो रहा है ना मैम का वॉइस कहीं कहीं पे ब्रेक हो रहा है देखिए
हाँ Is it okay now? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Sorry, this is online education. Anyway, there are 177 participants I can see, and all of you are very knowledgeable. And I don't know whether I'll be able to enlighten you on the craft of India, because that is a vast ocean. More than hundreds of art craft traditions are vibrant in India. And to be a connoisseur of each and every tradition is totally impossible. You need several lifetimes to do that. So basically, I am not going to give any descriptive account of what is craft, different kind of craft. What I'll be trying to say, I'll try to define why craft and what changes has come in the contemporary scene and what can be done to preserve. I think that is the crux of the issue here, because all of you are knowledgeable, and now it is a time of open resource time, OERs, where we can just Google and find out a lot of inputs. No big deal. I mean, just Google that Dokra casting, you'll come across the entire history. So that is not important. Important part is how to look at what craft is, what has happened to the craft in the post-global time, and what can be done. So I think as all of us, as people who are literate enough to understand, we will have a discourse on that, instead of going to giving a historical account or a definitional account that okay, it happened. So that is my methodology. I think that is fine. It's fine with all of you, right? So, but it is a morning session. So let us make some little mood. So I'll be showing you, I'll starting with a 10-minute video. So it will be a walkthrough to the crafts. Then I'll be presenting a PPT. So I request Ranjan to start the video now. Okay, thank you, Ranjan. I hope you enjoyed it, isn't it? And all of us who have felt so proud that look at the diversity, the range, the variety, and the craftsmanship and the beautiful imagination, creativity. I think we are at loss with words. We don't even realize the problem with craft it is that when we talk about art, we go to gallery, we look at the art piece, and we are mesmerized, and then we say, wow, what great expression. But the problem with craft is we encounter every day. I'm wearing this jewelry made of wood. Every day we wear saris, chadar mekhla, dhoti, whatever. We don't even realize the imagination, creativity, history. That is the most important. Behind one chadar, one jewelry, one utensil, one picture. And these are all heritage. Because of the everyday encounter, everyday practice, we forget to give the value that it carries. That is why we say that these are bearer of our culture and also economy. So I'll be showing in our PPT and discuss why it is so important to revisit, reiterate, retalk, and talk about craft. Because these are the substrata on which we stand when we encounter other civilization, other culture. Then we can see, look at the syncretic nature, the multiplicity of Indian culture. What are the markers? Literature, art, and craft, which is often marginalized. So that is why you as all teachers, you are eminent teachers. It is very important that I am also a teacher, you are also a teacher. I teach at the university, colleges and school. It is very important because we can be the bridge both for the students and for the common people to create awareness. That is why I think this is important that we talk about. Otherwise, we can just Google and look and forget. Why are we having this exchange? Because this is our cultural marker. And also it has great sustainable quality. And one of the most important feature that always, mesmerize me, think about the history. Thousands years of evolution. And we do not even realize. So that is why let us have a discussion and we can have, exchange also later on at the end. But before that, let us start with the PPT. So I'd again request Ranjay to, do the PPT for me because from my side there's a technical hitch. So yeah. Can you make it full screen, Ranjay? Can you make it in a slide?
Yes, ma'am. Just a second.
Okay, okay. So is it visible to all the participants? I hope
I
it is
think-
visible.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is visible, ma'am.
Okay. So Ranjay, let us go to the next slide.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So as I have already mentioned, that it is bearer of our culture and economy. But at the very beginning, let us start with the definition because some of us might not be, very aware of what craft is. We know what is craft, but it is important to articulate it. So for articulation, I have written it here. You can read it and I'll also, no, please go back to the, yeah. So that what is the definition? The definition of craft is a spatial skill. First, we should remember that it's a spatial skill. It could be anything. It can be embroidery, it can be weaving, it can be, making a beautiful thread. So, and after that, it becomes an occupation and it requires a spatial skill or art. So, a key feature of craft is that they involve a high degree of hands-on craftsmanship. That is why we call in Hindi karigari, hastkar, hast. The hand has a spatial. And that is the difference with machine. A machine is a programmed thing, but craft, it is associated with the word. The etymological expression is that it is craftsmanship. the hand has a special connotation. And a craft and trade is a pastime or a profession that requires particular skill and knowledge of the skilled work. Now, just go back. Yeah. Historically, if you remember, over the ages, thousands of years, what happened? People would be doing agriculture, and along with it, as a pastime, they will cultivate certain cultural activities and some craftsmanship like this. And there was also a professional part to it. So most of the, craftsmen, they were trained under some guru, and they would learn it. And once the apprenticeship is over, they would open their own guild or shop. So if you read the description here that I have put in the slide, I have mentioned that once an apprentice of a craft has finished his apprenticeship, he'd become a journeyman searching for a place to set up his shop, make a living. So it has multiple aspects. Can we go to the next slide? So now I'll come to the, since the definition is clear now, we are very much at times puzzled with the difference between art and craft. Sometimes we, for example, I'll give one example, Madhubani painting. Some people say that it's a craft, or for some it is art. When we talk about traditional Indian art expression, we say that Madhubani is a wonderful example, but it is also clubbed in craft. So what is this? There is a constant debate between the hierarchy of art and craft. Kala or craft jo hai. Actually, the thing happened in the Western scenario. During the Renaissance, what happened? The concept of artist emerged. What is an artist? When Leonardo da Vinci and others, I'm sure all of you know what is Renaissance and you know about the artist. So what happened? The artist was upgraded to a higher level. And what was the reason for that? They would say that in craft, what happens, you can already predict what is going to happen. Because there's a kind of formula, there are certain set designs, there are certain grammars you follow and you create a craft. But in case of art, what happens? You have your individual imagination. I'll just give one example. Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa. Have you seen? I'm sure all of you have seen Mona Lisa, right? You know Mona Lisa, right? Yes. I'm sure some of you must have seen it. The original also in Paris, which is in Louvre Museum, Boy Museum of Paris. So there is only one piece of art. Of course, there are replica in the market, hundreds of, Mona Lisa that you can buy and put it in a wall. But there is only one original piece. But when it comes to craft, there are multiple versions, isn't it? There is not one singular piece of jappi or one singular piece of, dokra. So that is why the distinction came. And in the West, it happened. But there are debates going on that both of them are equally important, and it is not, one shouldn't bring any hierarchy. कोई ऐसा नहीं कहे कि शिल्प उच्च है और ये निम्न स्तर के हैं, ऐसा नहीं है. Thankfully, in the Indian context, till the British colonization, there was not much of a difference between art and craft. Shilpi was a term used for it. I'll give one example. Since we are from Assam, and most of the people, they are not very aware about the tradition of Northeast and Assam. So I'll be giving one or two illustrations from this part so that you also become aware, right? So in Assam, there is a surname called Khonikar. The moment you come across this surname, you should know that Khonikar means artist. So in Assam, we had a long tradition of a clan, and whoever was the artist, the surname was bestowed as Khonikar by the king. And the Khonikars were experts. They were agriculturists, they were farmers, but at the same time, they were wood carver, they were painter, they would make clay pottery. They were expert in everything. There was no hierarchy. It was not that okay, I'm a painter, Leonardo da Vinci, like the West, so I'm a great artist. Whereas someone who is just weaving something, creating a toy, so he is below to the lower stratum. No. So this is one important point I urge all of you to keep in mind that yes, there is a ongoing, hierarchy between artist and craftsman, but we should remember both are very creative. And at times we shouldn't be, it really kind of injustice if we marginalize the crafters. That is one important point I would urge all of you to remember and spread this away. So the distinction started only in British colonization and modernism. When we started equating artists with a high art form, where you exhibition in gallery, museum. Am I clear? So this is one point which needs to be in mind, register. So next slide, please. Yeah. So once that part is clear, as I had already mentioned, and through our walk through in the video, we saw that there are hundreds of crafts. It is impossible for me to talk about each and every craft within 1 hour and 15 minutes. So I'm just putting a broad categories. Just go through the slide and you will see that textile. Within textile, you have so many multiple expressions. Say for applique, crocheting, embroidery, felt making, knitting, lace making. We can go on and on and on. Then we have woodcraft, wood carving, wood turning, cabinet, furniture making. This is one genre. Then we have paper craft, paper modeling, collage, mache. Then you have pottery and glass, which is very, very ancient. Pottery is one of the most ancient form of craft. Yes or no? Because in village we come across with. Forget about the modern amenities that now we have in the kitchen. But I'm sure in each of our ancestral house we have some ornate pottery, isn't it? And we take so much proud. कि हमारे नानी जी के थे. This one, this was. I'm sure each every house. And one thing I have noticed that each and every Indian household is a museum, craft museum, isn't it? You have so many things that you preserve. So as I said, these are all museums. The next is jewelry. It includes metal work, washing, and so many engraving and enamel. And then there are other examples, hundreds of examples like basket weaving, book binding, doll making, enameling, floral design. Ikebana is of course Japanese, but it was adopted here. Toy making. So I'm sure all of you can find on yourself, you navigate and you'll come across text and very in the internet also you'll come across. So I'll go to the next slide. Yes, since we are coming to our core issue, which is Indian craft. So Indian craft is a vibrant part of our creative and cultural heritage. And it performs two significant parts. One is functional, practical. Every day we use something. As I had already pointed in the beginning of my lecture that we wear something, we've done ornaments, we have kitchenwares, we have so many utensils, we have bed covers, furniture, table, everything is a part of craft. These are all functional practice. But the second point is, which is very important, that it has an artistic and aesthetic attainment. And it is a part of the integral part of any Indian life. And interestingly, it is for both commoner and the elite aristocrat. There are certain crafts that are used by both commoner and aristocrat. And it has been handed over for, centuries. But there are basically three categories. One is, which is very close with the folk life, the rural life, the community life, which are related to the ritualistic purposes. There are crafts which we create for some rituals, and there are some religious. The religious craft which evolve and develop around the religious centers. And then, of course, you have commercial. I'll just give one example. The baskets, the broom. These are all commercial products, commodities which are still vibrant. But there are a religious craft which we bring and put for reverence. So there within craft, Indian craft, we have multiple categories, and these three are very prominent. I hope I'm clear what I was trying to say. Let us go to the next slide. Yeah. So let us now look at some important feature of traditional craft of India. First, it is highly technical craftsmanship. I'm sure when you were watching the video, you could see the technical craft. See, the technology itself is a form of science where you need precision and understanding of an indigenous knowledge, isn't it? Because if you want to create something, you need to have measurement, you need to have highly skilled technology for that. And technology not only means machine, technology is also the indigenous technology of understanding how to create something. That is the first point. The second is symbolism and motifs. If we look at our everyday life, just look around, you'll come across hundreds of symbols and motifs. Swastika, Trishul, the bindi that we wear, everything is a symbol, a motif, which was conceived through philosophical understanding, conceptual understanding. And these are just markers. Problem is that we forget about it. हम भूल जाते हैं कि एक सिंबल के पीछे क्या क्या मीनिंग है और बहुत सारा फिलोसॉफिकल आइडिया उनके पीछे. And these are the artists and craftsmen who created this symbol. Because I may be a philosopher, I may create something. Okay, this is a Trishul. But the artists and craftsmen will create that. They will. Some people visualize and some people execute it. So the craftsmen. So Indian craft, you see lots of symbol and motifs. This is another very important feature. And when it comes to sculptures or making of some images and some figures, we see beautiful gesture and poses. I'm sure you have seen idols. Each and every temple has some idol, मूर्ति, भगवान का मूर्ति बोलिए, कुछ भी बोलिए, वॉल पे जो कार्व होते हैं. कभी आपने एक तो हम भक्ति भाव से उसको प्रणाम कर लेते हैं, ठीक है, लेकिन कभी उसको हम जब देखते हैं, when you pay attention and look at that, you see that there are symbols, there are gestures. Sri Krishna will be always seen in Tribhangi, Tribhanga Murti. So what is the symbolism behind that gesture or a pose? There will be some Abhay Mudra. Buddha is always in Abhay. So when you look at this, it is not only the bhakti, it is also the symbolism, gesture, and each step. These are all capsules from the knowledge. And who had created these images? The craftsmen and artists of India over the period. And again, another feature is expression. Have you seen the Buddha images? You see the expression of nirvana. The eyes are half closed, isn't it? Whereas when you look at the idol of Radha and Krishna, you see a beautiful smile. Radha and Krishna looking at each other and you see the beauty. So these are called expression. So expression is the integral part of Indian craft. And it is a very interesting aesthetic, attainment. We look at the idol and you say, okay, fine. We don't even realize that how difficult it is to bring out that smile through our handcraft. So we need to appreciate it and remember. And then the next is meaning making images. Whatever images, whatever crafts we make, it has certain meaning. Without meaning, see, we hang something. Whenever we go to any Indian household, once we enter, we see some hanging, isn't it, at the gate or on the wall or at the threshold. Why do you hang it? मान लीजिए एक बेल को हम क्यों उसको, some artists must have created that bell. Why do you put one small bell? Because it is a symbol. It has that bell has a meaning also. Apart from the sound, the dhvani, it has also a meaning that this is auspicious. This bell is a connector to the Almighty God and humanity. That is the meaning process. And who does it? Crafts. We don't even think or realize. But these are part of our overall holistic knowledge. And then you have ornamental vision. Wide range of designs and pattern. Just common example, I'll give you the Rangoli. Beautiful design and pattern. Same design and pattern come in carpets. You see in the textile. You see in your ornaments everywhere. Just one design, one pattern needed so much imagination and so much evolution, so much creativity. Suppose I give you an exercise just now that close everything now. Just think about one design which is original. Nobody has used it. Then you'll realize how much struggle it needs. Can all of you, 100, 200 people come across one original design? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. But you will know that how difficult it is. Once you start, take your pen and pencil and the copy and start making something, then you will realize. So, vast, reporter of designs and patterns that Indian craft have evolved over centuries is wonderful, mesmerizing. And I'm always at loss of word when I think about it. Just start looking at the design. It is the greatest contribution to the world, culture, the global culture. So internationally also, there is a great recognition for Indian art and craft because of this feature. It was not just any artwork. It had so many meaning, expression, gestures, symbolism. And finally, the minimalistic approach, because it has a folkloric expression. How minimalism means? Minimal expression. Suppose we want to think about Lord Krishna and the whole universe. We do a minimal vision. We just think about one dimb or one dimb, one egg, Brahmanda. This whole idea of Brahmanda, one egg cell. This shape. This is minimal version of the entire universe. This is folkloric and craftsmanship visualization. So I hope you understand that now that it has such multiple layers. This is the significance and beauty of Indian craft. Next slide, please. This is the history of Indian craft. This is a long history. It will be not possible for me to talk about the entire history. It will need another 3-4 classes. I'll just quickly putting capsules here. So it began in the Indus Valley civilization, 3000 before birth of Christ. Of course, we do not say BC nowadays, BCE, we say it. So in Indus Valley civilization, we have Mohenjo-daro and Harappa. And you see, it was a wonderful storehouse of pottery making, jewelry, trading, sculpture, metal stones. How advanced we were. It is unbelievable when we look at the craftsmen. Go to the next slide where we can see this. Yes, these are some of the examples. So look at that figure, which is a dancing figure. It is a toy of a girl, but a wonderful example. Example of high art. Then these are the jewelries. Look at the jewelries. The women and men alike, they wore, 3,000 years before BC means now this is 2021. So it is before 5,000 years ago. Look at the craftsmanship. So we should be so proud that for 6,000 years we are evolving. Next slide. So yeah, I have mentioned here about the Vedic civilization, which started in the 1500 BC. So there are lots of Vedic literature where you will come across about the reference, how there were artisan guilds who made pottery, weaving, wood crafting, and they are mentioned. Mritchakatikam. Have you heard about the Sanskrit drama Mritchakatikam? The moment we say Mriksha Katigim, it talks about the, the lamp of art. It definitely signifies or connotes the pottery making. So how rich it is. And one important thing, it is an integral part of craft and art literature. And it together forms the entire trait of Indian culture. Next slide, please. Yeah, so then we have a medieval history and the Mauryan Empire. Here I have talked about the Mauryan Empire. If you go through the slide, you'll see that King Ashoka, he built 84,000 stupas. And each stupa, they were so ornate. In Bharhuta, Mathura, Amravati, Vaishali, Sanchi, you come across. Hopefully, I mean, if we go there, have excursion with the students and look at it. And then you will be awestruck at the craftsmanship of the artist and artists. So these stupas and the Buddhist sculptures, and it is also an amalgamation of the Greek culture. So you'll see the draperies of Buddha, the curly hair, talks of a syncretic culture, Indian culture. So medieval history has a very, very vibrant mention of an Indian craft. Next slide, please. Then we come to the Gupta. This is, of course, has by the historian as a classical. In Ellora and Ajanta mural, you come across the lifestyle. I request all of you today to Google and see Ellora and Ajanta mural and all that I have mentioned. Because it is not possible for me to show each and every video. Wish I could show video for each and everything. But you please do it on your own and you realize, with great realization will come how fine and how rich our cultural heritage of Indian craft. Then we have the Mughal. Mughal had a very rich, the craftsmanship of engraving, khudai, carpet weaving, brocade enameling, and of course miniature painting. Mughal miniature painting is very famous. It is in high demand in the international market. We have Pahari, Rajasthani, Kangra painting. I'm sure people, all the participants, esteemed participants from those states, they know about it. So yes, these have been vibrant since the medieval time. This is not new. It has a long history of hundreds of years. The next slide. And southern India here. Who doesn't know about the Chola bronze? Chola bronze is internationally famous. It has reached such, indigenous knowledge, craftsmanship, and also the scientific idea about how, human anatomy and other design. Think of the Nataraja. The greatest example is the Nataraja. That is a gift from the Chola Empire and then Chola bronze sculpture. And then the Vijayanagara Empire. And when we come to our side, eastern part, we have the Khajuraho temple. Please visit Khajuraho temple and you'll see it's an amalgamation of architecture, sculpture, craftsmanship, whatnot. I'm sure you'll get goosebumps. I get it usually. And then Bengal also had a great history of weaving terracotta. Next slide, please. Now I'm coming to northeastern India. As I have already said, a lot of people we know about the rest of India, but somehow some of us, we are not very much aware of the northeastern state. And usually when we talk about northeastern state, we think of the craft person. But we should know that it has a very long, especially Assam. In ancient time, Assam was known as Kamrupa. And you should know about the Kamakhya temple, right? Now the Ambubachi Mela is going on in Kamrupa. And it is a very old site of Shakti ji, mother cult, Kamakhya. So I'll be giving one example. So there was this famous Chinese traveler, Yuan Sa. He had come to India in the 7th century and then he stayed for 16 years. He traveled all over India. He stayed in the court of Harshavardhana. In Harsa Charita, you will come across about And this Chinese traveler, when Sang wrote a very wonderful account of India of 7th century, and he has a detailed account about Kamrupa. And if I would request you to read, you can find it in it also. In libraries also it's available. And Huan Sang, the Chinese traveler, talked about the wonderful manifestations of craft in ancient Kamrupa. He mentioned that the king of Kamrupa, Kumar Bhaskar Barmana, once sent a series of gifts to Harshavardhana because both of them were very good friends. So he said a lot of minakaris, crafted things, beautiful decorative item with craft, then paint, brush, and small cage for birds which had golden carving. So why I'm giving this example? Just to say that you have a strong literary evidence of 7th century, but to talk about a very evolved, craft tradition and art tradition of 7th century, one needs to remember that it has already developed. So you can predate it to 7th back to 7th century because it doesn't flourish overnight. It takes hundreds of years. So next slide, please. Yes. So very briefly, I have talked about from Harappan to medieval time till the advent of British colonialism. Now, what is happening in the contemporary century? The modern and contemporary manifestation of Indian craft. Now, what is the scene like? We must say, thankfully, fortunately, we still have the continuity. Each state, I know you are from each and every state of India, and you know about your own state and your own craft. And going by that, we know that each and every state of India has their own particular tradition. They are so vibrant. They are all signifier and marker of their own state cultural identity. Yes? Right. So I'll just give few example. Like, for instance, Kashmir is known for Pashmina wool shawl. I'm sure all of us, we know about it. We might be from South India, we might be from Northeast India, but we know about Pashmina or Banarasi sari, which is from Benares. And for example, the Shola Pith of Salmon, Bengal. Or the craft pieces from Karnataka. Sandalwood of Karnataka is so popular. Each and every household, I think, especially the middle class who travels, they bring and they collect one sandal, isn't it? We put it in our prayer hall. And then you have Kanchivaram sari and high quality fabric painting from Gujarat. So these are only few examples. It is not possible for me to give, it will, as I said again, it's a vast ocean. The next slide, please. Yeah, here are a few examples I really tempted to show you. So these are still vibrant. These are wood carving. Of course, the right panel is showing ancient, this is called jali. Very nicely put terrace. In the veranda, you can see this is a very ornate window, balcony. And this is a detailed work. So please try to appreciate the forms and pattern and design of this wood carving. And it is still continuing in some part of India. Next slide, please. Yes, as I said in the beginning, in India, in the context of India, unlike West, we have no distinction between craft and art at certain point. So these are the example that I am showing: the Warli, the Gond, the Madhubari, and Kalamkari. These are example of both traditional art form and craft. So look at that. That's appreciate how colorful, how beautiful, how ornate. All the features that I mentioned can be found here. Madhubani, if you look at my background, where I'm seeing this is, of course, I'm doing it from my house. I have a Madhubani painting in my wall also. Why? Because Madhubani is a wonderful tradition. Women artisans played a great role in Madhubani from Bihar. From the Mithila region. If I'm not wrong, a participant from Bihar may correct me if I'm wrong. So it definitely started with the narration of Ram and Sita, but it also incorporated indirectly about the folk life. So it has beautiful narration of the Sita Katha, Ram Katha, but at the same time, the folk life was also reflected. Look at the trees, look at the depiction, the colorful manifestation. Then you have the worldly. There are hundreds of traditions I have just shown you as an example. If you look at the worldly painting, it talks about the entire rural life. Please pay attention. You'll see that one person is feeding a bull, a goat. You can see a peacock there. You can see some women working. You can see someone dancing. So it is a recorder of the entire rural life. Nachna, Gana, Lok Sanskriti, Khana, Kuch, everything. Everything about culture. One worldly painting is equal to 100 manifestation of cultural activity. That is the greatness. Then we see the Kalamkari and the Gunda. What do you see here? I have put these two particular work which have special objective because I feel so proud when I see it as an Indian because it talks about not only about human being, it talks about animals, trees, and behind it, as I say, each artwork and craft is not only about painting or art. It is about philosophy also. So this is a philosophy of, right, that Rig Veda mantra you have now. Apa Shanti, Antariksha Shanti, Vanaspati Shanti, Vanaspati, the animals, the trees, the sky, everything is integral part of this Indian philosophical thought. We have forgotten this kind of philosophy. That is why so much chaos is happening. And we have realized it in this pandemic time that we have become too much, human centric. We have forgotten about the trees, we have forgotten about the animals. But look at this painting, you see a beautiful coexistence, an interspecies relation. These are indigenous logic and philosophy, which crafts and art keeps reminding, which we tend to forget. Next slide, please. Yes, this is an ornate, beautiful carpet, example of carpet. I'm sure most of you have carpet and you have this kind of, these are very, very popular internationally in their huge demand. Next slide, please. I'm already running out of time because this is such a vast. So I'll quickly go through. This is Pashmina. Next slide, please. Yes, these are metal work. One is silver, one is copper. Of course, it's in black and white. But look at the design of the wear and then also the intricate design and ornaments within that. Next. Yes, this is, I really love because these are terracotta toys. This, in the upper panel, where you see 2-3 toys, these are from Harappan civilization. Beautiful little cute toys. I have juxtaposed it in this slide because this is from Harappa and there is continuity till this. This one is from Assam, where you can see a woman holding 2 babies. Very beautiful and cute, lovable. This is called Ashari Kandi, Hatima Putola. So mother and child, basically. And then this is a horse. These are pipes actually, and smoking pipe, but actually with an ornate bird motif. And these are owl. So look at the child psychology. These are for children, no? There's toys. But at the same time, these are decorative piece. These are also symbolic. So terracotta toys has a long tradition starting from Harappan to Gilded. Next slide, please. Yes, this is one epitome of, I was talking about Tola Bhoj in southern India. This is one of the cultural signifier. If somebody says, pick a few cultural symbol of Indian culture and art and civilization, I think Nataraja will be one of them. When a craft tradition, that is why I put this caption that when a craft tradition reaches the pinnacle, a high art called Nataraja bronze is created. Look at the craftsmanship, the beauty of the Nataraja body, and also it is symbolic. It has everything. I said the gesture, the pose, the expression, the representation, the meaning, craftsmanship and technology, everything. And Nataraja became so popular in the entire world. If you ask people, other people are not Indian, non-Indian, that what they know about, they'll definitely say that we have Nataraja in mind. Because Anand Kumar Swamy, a great art historian who was from Sri Lanka and then settled in India, he had a wonderful writing about Nataraja called Dance of Shiva. I would request all of you to read that stuff. He has beautifully talked about it. So please read that by Anand Kumar Swamy, Dance of Shiva. Next slide, please. So now I'm coming to the another significance and relevance of Indian craft in contemporary time. So there are two very important significance. One is the cultural importance because handicrafts play a very significant role in representing culture and tradition. It is a traditional art, marker of traditional art, heritage, culture, traditional spirit that are associated with Indian lifestyle. And without craft, we won't be able to represent ourselves. And next is also very important, which is economic importance. It has a huge economic development. Actually, one can give another talk about the economic importance. But since I am from cultural studies and we are giving focus on culture, so I speak at length about culture. But economy also plays a very important part. Next slide, please. India is a country of rich culture, history, and tradition. India is one of the major producer and supplier of handicraft products. In continuity with the second point I am stating this, India has been a major producer and supplier of handicraft products since long time. Before the industrial development, there was a potential economic advantage for this country. Even that time, it was in demand, Indian handicraft. Even now, they are sold at a high price in international market. So during the recent year, the importance of handicraft has reached new heights due to cultural and financial value. Small scale industries has come up. Since independence, the government of India has been paying attention to it. There are boards, handicraft boards, handloom boards, small scale industries branches. So I'm not going to talk about it at length. Someone from economics would be more, expert in that area. But we can say that it is revenue generation, 15% revenue generation from this industry, as it has high demand, both for decorative value and also for some ritualistic value. But look at the final sentence of this slide. I want to say in this present context, because we say that we have a discourse here. However, the scene is not that rosy in all the content. Why I am saying that? I'll come to that in the next slide. Next slide, please. No, go to the previous. Preservation of the uniqueness and traditional authentic form. Now, what has happened to the traditional artisans and craftsmen in the post-global scene of the 90s, 1990s, when globalization happened? Huge industrial proliferation happened. Lot of mechanization happened. Then, not in case of all the craft, but in certain traditional craftsmen, what happened? It started slowly dwindling. Because usually what happened, craft was handed generation after generation. For example, if a father is a great craft person, the son and the children, the next generation would be learning from them. But since industrialization happened, there was mass production. So the hand-produced handicrafts or other crafts, they were not able to cater to the demand, and many other contexts started doing it. And also what happened? there were compromises in certain, authentication forms. Let us go to the next slide. So, as I've written, the advent of industrialization and increasing urbanization, a market for craft, the historical artisan-consumer relationship has broken down. It has been replaced by trader. It has rendered artisan knowledge and skill acquired over generation slowly useless and made certain craft unsustainable source of livelihood. So people started going to other professions. Next slide, please. I'll give one example. Peat. Peat is, kind of reed. R-E-E-T, reed. It is a plant, grows like a bush in swampy land. जहाँ पानी ज्यादा होता है ना swampy land, तो वहाँ वो you get this weed. And from it in Bengal and Assam, where you have low land, you have water, ample water, these weeds grow. And from these weeds, we create something called shola peat or shola peat. These are two examples. Okay, so now what happened? Post 90s, what happened? There is a lot of industrialization happened. Most important, more than that, urbanization. All the lowlands, they were encroached and occupied by people. The town spread, the city spread. There were housing complexes and construction which came up. All the lowlands were filled up with soil and there were construction multi. What happened then? There was no longer growth of peat or the weed, which started because of the deforestation, because of the urbanization, rapid urbanization. It started dwindling. Then what happened? The artist didn't have, the craftsman couldn't find material. अगर material ही नहीं होगा तो art कहाँ से पैदा होगा? If you do not have the material required, तो कहाँ से? How can you create art? So slowly and slowly, see that peat is dwindling. Peat was one of the most important, folk tradition of Assam. It was mostly rampant in the part of Assam, but Goalpara district. Now you do not find lowland and everything is on. So what they have done, they have started doing this. The form remains, the style remains. They are doing it on paper or canvas, but that material, the original, authentic form, that is gone because of, and the peat workers, they are now jobless. So they are catering to this and that, and then what is happening? We are losing one of the important cultural heritage. So that is one sad part. Next slide, please. So now, what is the need of the hour? So there is a need for revival, renewed interest, and consciousness about the significance of craft. Because as I said in the beginning, because of the everyday encounter or so many other things, we do not give adequate attention or recognition about the craft tradition. We go gaga over cinema or other performances which are very visually enchanting. But we buy something, a small thing, we keep it in our drawing room, put it in the wall, and think about it. But there is no conscious meditation over it. And we forget that behind that one single artist, there is a tradition, there is a heritage, there is a history, and there are people actually engaged with it. And by not sponsoring them, not encouraging them, not talking about them, not appreciating them, we are slowly, indirectly, unknowingly killing tradition. So we should remember that art and crafts have always been an integral part of India's rich tradition and heritage. They are, in fact, the cultural symbol of our nation. These art forms are unique and demand of high adroit. The artisans are trained in the art form by their ancestor over generations. Indian art forms are well popular all over the globe in the wake of ancient civilization. The Greeks really appreciated it, as I said earlier. The artisans have transformed all the art forms from mere passion to real economic activity over the past few decades unconsciously by acquiring basic business. This is one citation by P.T. Vijayashree. I am quoting it. Why? Because this is important, so that we remember the need for revival or renewed interest, or at least for our appreciation. And I think we as educators, we can do it. We can put it in our curriculum. We can talk about it among students. We can spread the awareness among the common by writing, do popular writing. I think in the newspaper, give talk, arrange some competition. Let us think of some pedagogic, implementation where we can talk about this important aspect. And through it, we can also give education. We can talk about ecology. We can talk about nature. We can talk about the renewal of life idea. So these are the important, I think, our duty of us as educators. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah. I just want to give an illustration, just illustration how to do it, because this is a very difficult challenge. And it is so complex that you need a good network of government assistance, people's, support, education system, and everything together to do this revival or understanding. So the need of the hour is to find ways for sustainable development, cultural awareness, for preserving the craft, and most importantly, safeguarding the interest of the artisan. होता क्या है कि आर्टिजन कभी कभी वोकल नहीं हो पाते, तो उनका इंटरेस्ट रह जाता है, दब जाता है कभी कभी मिडिल मैन के जरिए. सो वी नीड टू अप्रिशिएट. एक इलस्ट्रेशन आई वांट टू गिव फ्रॉम असम एंड नॉर्थ ईस्ट. इफ यू नो द नॉर्थ ईस्ट has hundreds of ethnic groups and tribes, and as you can see in the lower, look at the left side of the lower panel, you'll see that there are many handicrafts made of wood and cane, and they are everyday uses. They are used for their kitchenwares, they are used for preserving things, food, keeping rice, going for fishing, and all these things. And this has been there for ages, for centuries, hundreds of years. And these are decorative items. And this small picture, bamboo picture you see, this is a fishing. You do fishing and put the fish there. Okay, so these are different examples of the traditional craft. But as it started dwindling, thanks to government assistance and also some, graduates from, NID and other, a group of people coming forward. What happened? We'll see in the next slide. Okay. So in the previous slide, we saw the traditional art craft. These are new editions, new designs. So you can see these are sofa sets. This is one settee where you can. So these are in great demand nowadays. Now, what has happened? People might say that you are compromising with the traditional form. That is different issue. It is not good. But it is at least helping the artisan, because they are making some bamboo furniture. They are sustainable. They are eco-friendly. So you have ecological impact also. And they are also helping the artisans. So small scale industries, they are doing all this. So what I'm trying to say that the craft of bamboo and cane is getting a new revival energy, synergy, because of this new kind of innovations and thoughts and thinking. Next, I'll show in the next slide, please. Next slide. Yes, look at here. These are all new forms. These were not found traditionally. One is a ashtray, the upper one in the left panel. Then these are decorative flower vases. You can put flowers. Fuldani, that is ashtray. That is a table. If you can see, very nicely designed table. Center table you can put in your drawing room. And these, one is a table lamp, one is a hanging lampshade. So these are all new innovation that has been added, new forms, new design, new pattern added to the traditional craft. And in a way, it is contributing for the sustenance of the traditional. Next slide, please. I'm coming to the end now. So to sum up, it's a huge subject, as I say, it's not possible to put everything. But please remember that culture is that expression and manifestation of our philosophy of living and thinking. We have a philosophy of living and thinking, but how it gets manifested? It gets manifested through culture. And culture has two distinctive components. One is material, one is non-material. And material culture consists of objects which are associated with concrete expression, with certain material medium. And craft is that part of the first expression of culture. Of course, you have the second part also, the non-material culture, which refers to concept, idea, thoughts, belief. Like, for example, folk songs, they are part of the non-material culture. The beautiful lullabies that every mother sings to the child is the part of our folk, our culture, but it is non-material culture because it is not something you can hold. एक ललाबाई को हम पकड़ नहीं सकते लेकिन हम उसको गा सकते हैं क्योंकि उसमें हम लोग का थॉट. So non-material culture refer to all this thing. Indian culture has been formed by its long history and different topography. And this class is a classic example of that topography. We are from everywhere. The multiple tradition of craft evolving over century encompasses India's heritage. And when do we realize this? The first point was during the freedom movement. When the Swadeshi idea came up during freedom movement, a section of scholars came up and who said that the true marker of Indian identity and culture is the art and crafts. So there was an initiation for reclaiming the glorious past of Indian art and craft. So now what I'm trying to say that our education system, you, all of you, me, everyone together can continue that idea of Swadeshi or movement or freedom movement idea, where there was an urge for everyone that you reclaim the glorious past and spread the awareness. And the best way is to put it in the education, is a talk with the students, make it a part of the pedagogy, where you can have a meaningful transmission of knowledge and create awareness that it is very important to know about. Next slide, please. Yes. Thankfully, it is a final slide. So I think within this short span of time, somehow I try to put everything. There is a saying in Assamese, in our language, Bhuruka dhati purua. Bhuruka is a very small straw. That how to put an elephant inside a straw, it's very difficult. So to talk about the vast history and wonderful reporter of Indian crafts in 1 hour is like Bhuruka dhati purua, to put an elephant in a small straw. But I have tried my best. So if you have anything, any comment, any observation, or any question, you can have it. But let me tell you beforehand, I'm not an expert because, as I said, this is a vast ocean. You need a lifetime to write. But whatever we can, I'll try my best to say whatever I know. Thank you so much. I saw someone raising a hand, and then
यस मैडम बरनाली चौधरी मैम, प्लीज आप अनम्यूट करें पहले अपने आप को. रंजय जी हेल्प करें बरनाली मैम को, अनम्यूट करें. तब तक और कोई पूछे, उनके यहाँ से साउंड नहीं आ रहा है बरनाली मैम से। गुजरात, तेलंगाना, नवनीता चक्रवर्ती मैम, मैडम चक्रवर्ती आप बात करें प्लीज।
सर आपकी तरफ से म्यूट किया हुआ है।
अच्छा रंजय, इसीलिए मैं कह रहा था आपसे, आप करिए। जी जी, अब बताएं मैम। रंजय ने कर दिया अनम्यूट, आप बताएं।
So, ma'am, thank you so much.
Thank
Actually,
you.
I'm from Guwahati. I teach in Gopalpur Government Higher Secondary School. It's
Thank
been
you.
an honor to have you in our session.
Thank you.
I welcome you in CCRT. I also would like to welcome you to our school in Guwahati. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, you are audible, but it's echoing.
I don't know why.
Okay. Anyway, please continue.
Actually, it's been a long time. I know you from my hostel life.
Okay.
My senior, I didn't know you personally, but I know you by your works from the college days itself, by your writings in the Cottonian magazine.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I want to show my students in my that writing and develops from the childhood and from the stage itself. It's a culture we develop from the childhood itself.
There is a lot of background sound.
From my side, ma'am.
Rest of teachers, unmute your mic, then only it will be clear.
संदीप जी इतना बैकग्राउंड साउंड आ रहा है।
हाँ जी, एक्चुअली मैम कहीं से भी माइक ऑन होगा तो उनके सभी के साउंड्स आएंगे।
Hello. So
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah,
Hello.
I'd like to request you to come to our school to visit our children.
Yes, of course, I'd love. Thank you for inviting.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. My pleasure. Namaskar. So basically, what she asked me, can we include the mask making of Majuli? Majuli is a river island of Assam. Yes, of course. I said that this is a vast ocean. It has hundreds of currents. So if I go on counting, it will be at least, trust me, 500 craft traditions. So it was not possible for me to include everything. But of course, the mask making of Majuli is a very vibrant. And you Yes. all of you do not know that Majuli is the center of Vaishnavite culture of Assam. It was propagated by Srimanta Shankardev, one of the Bhakti saints of Assam. And he visited all over India. He went to South also and the North also. He was very well read. He had read all the Bhakti saints from Punjab to South India. And he composed wonderful literary, composition in Assam, music. And he was an all-rounder, a true Renaissance man. So he was an artist, he was a writer, reformer, and of course, a monk and son. So he established monasteries. And Majuli is the site of monastery. I request all of you, once the pandemic is over, please visit Assam, go to Majuli. It's a river island. And still you will find a living tradition of the Vaishnavite monastery, where you have monks, we call them bhaktas, and they are all celibate monks. They live the sanskaric life and settle there, and they practice all this. So one of the craft is the mask making. They make beautiful masks. I wish I could show you some slide, but it's not possible. But just Google and you'll come across. So they have the Ravana mask, the Ram mask, all the characters of epic. And one of the, not one, yes, 2 or 3 have got Lalit Kala Academy recognition and other recognition, also national recognition for mask making. And it is indeed a very curious form of tradition. lot.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you, ma'am. মেম আৰু এটা কুৱেশ্যন আছিলে মোৰ বৰ্তমান আমাৰ কি হৈছে আগতে আমাৰ স্কুলবোৰত ক্ৰাফ্ট কৰিব দিয়া হৈছিলে হাতেৰে বস্তু বনাই আনিব দিয়া হৈছিলে বাঁহৰ হওক বেম্বু ক্ৰাফ্ট বা তেনেকুৱা মাটিৰ বস্তু কিন্তু বৰ্তমান সময়ত আমাৰ সেইবোৰ নাইকিয়া হৈ গৈছে জাষ্ট এছাইনমেণ্ট হোমৱৰ্ক এণ্ড অল
yes,
ডেট
yes, yes.
চ' আমি
Yes.
কেনেকে ইমপ্লিমেণ্ট কৰিব
She has
পাৰিম
an
তেওঁলোকৰ
important
মাজত
question. Yes, yes. She has an important question. She said that when we were students, we are given some assignments to make some craft, isn't it? I think others have also done it. But now and then these has been replaced by assignments, some digital work. Yes, we can continue with that because that will at least create some interest. If we make, but one thing should be made, mandatory. Usually what they do, they bring it from home, somebody makes it and they just submit it. Instead of that, in the classroom, if we actually invite some craft person, a respected craft person, make a workshop, do a workshop, teach the children how to do it. And parallelly, also the teacher should talk about the history of the tradition. I think that is would be a wonderful way of, bringing consciousness among students and also creating, awareness. So that can be done. So we, in our university, as per university, it was for MA level, we conducted 2 workshops. We're inviting all the craft persons all over Assam and Northeast. So it was a 1-month workshop. So students learned it. There was also deliberations. So that 1-month workshop did wonder. So even if you cannot produce craftsmen, they had enough knowledge about the tradition. And at least they understood the significance of craft, that it needs to be preserved. So yes, that can be done. It's a good question. Good suggestion,
you.
actually. Yes.
Thank you.
Madam,
Yes,
good
sir.
morning to
Yes,
all
sir.
dignitaries. This is Shiv from
Hello.
Karnataka.
Yes, sir.
We
Yes.
are running a cultural club at our school, but we need scarcity of, we feel scarcity of resources. For example, I
Sir,
bought,
your voice is echoing. I can't understand properly.
I bought Shola Peat, that material from Calcutta.
Okay.
But I used that one, but I want to use some more materials, but I feel scarcity. Not available of materials to introduce art for the students. We need to buy from the places.
Sir, can you write it? Because I couldn't understand because it was echoing so much.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Very good, very good. So I have a question. How can we use the craft techniques in our classroom teaching?
Okay. See, direct, there can be 2 things. You can use it as prop to make, some concept clear. That can be used as a pedagogic tool. For example, suppose you want to talk about some Indian history. So you can actually bring one toy and show that, okay, this had happened in Harappa. That is one methodology. Another can be, you can do, as I already suggested, you can conduct workshop so that there is a renewal in the interest. So it has two ways for performing it. Either you use it as a pedagogic tool, as an instrument to say something else, or give actual advice. You can conduct PPT slideshow, you can do workshop, you can actually bring samples and examples to show that, so that they understand and actually hold it in hand and know. But both way can be done. Only you need to plan accordingly and find some resource person. And if you are equipped enough, you can also do it, no problem.
Okay, thank you very much. But the students of 10th and 12th, can you hear my voice?
Yes, students of 10 and 12.
They are really preparing for exam oriented. They cannot interest in the old craft and what can we do for that?
See, sir, we'll have to think accordingly. Because we cannot ask a board exam student to do a workshop. That is understandable. But we can start with other according to time and schedule, we can plan accordingly. Of course, just 1 month before board exam, they would not like to attend a workshop. But yes, you think about some time during the break. Only thing is how to make it innovative, creative, so to draw attention to them. आप ऐसे बोलोगे आज आप एक वर्कशॉप करना है, वो नहीं आएंगे. उनको बोलना होगा कि इसका क्या महत्व है, what is the importance. You'll have to, create that interest. So you have to think of some ways to do. And nowadays students are so smart, and also they are self-sufficient. So you really need a creative mind to, take them into your fold. And so teachers are no longer like, inert actor nowadays. You have to be very active and then innovative, imaginative. That's what I feel as a teacher, because you really need to be on your toe and tell them what are the relevance, because they also ask you back. Kya hoga sir ye padh ke? We have come across students. So handling, it's also, I mean, know the psychology. So as I say nowadays, teacher is a multitasker. He's a psychologist, child psychologist, a performer, he's an innovator. So we'll need to think out. Of course, we need to keep in mind that it's an hamper. I mean, when a board exam is coming, at least you cannot do that. That is understandable. Do it in the beginning or maybe just before the summer break, where they can relax a bit and they can also understand. But first of all, you need to contextualize it. Why it is important? Why? How? How will it come later? Why? First, entice them with the why. Give them answer. Then automatically how will come? Answers to how to do it. That is the second phase. Without planning, if we just conduct it, they will not. You'll have to tell them this, slowly make them ready for it. And it becomes so relaxing. I have seen it, sir, trust me. Great rapport develop. Once you do such kind of thing, there is a kind of complementary bonhomie develops. You become friends, and there is a kind of very warm bonding. When you go to a class and just give a lecture, that is one level of teaching. But when you do such kind of workshop and you interact, you mingle, you discuss, automatically I have seen that you have a warm bonding. Students also feel a kind of, interactive bonding, and it really helps in long run. So I think art plays a big role in creating this kind of, bond, because it is a human endeavor, no?
Thank you,
helps.
ma'am. We shall take another last question.
Yes,
from
yes.
Thank you very much, madam. Thank you very
because
much.
of time limitations. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Hope I could at least understand.
Another question, please. Last question we can take, then we'll move. If anyone to wish.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
I am Parasmani B. Boisha.
Okay.
Hello, ma'am. I am
Yes,
Parasmani B.
Parashmani
Boisha.
Vishya. I can hear you.
Yeah. First of all, thank you, ma'am, for your informative speech and the way you explain everything. And I want to tell you that I have no university days. I have completed my B.Ed from Tezpur Central University
Oh, thank you.
in 2019. Ma'am, I'm currently working in Mongoldoy Girls Higher Secondary School. Something I want to bring to the light is that you see, in the small towns,
yes,
what happens is that most of the children, they get to listen words from their parents like "Haldore doctor hobo lagibo, engineer hobo lagibo, IS hobo lagibo."
Yes. Very pertinent.
All these things, they keep on listening so much, and quite rightly so, because people, middle class or lower middle class people from small towns have, hunger for success, so-called success. But then, and because of this kind of conditioning, this kind of repeated, discussions at home, the children tend to become very much go result oriented, and in
Yes,
the
yes.
process they end up, they don't become process oriented. Now engaging in culture, craft, all these are, these are part of the process, and it's since it is a kind of not the result oriented, or may not, people are not,
Yes.
they not seem like career oriented, as a result, children are trying to go away from these kind of things. So how,
Yes.
I'm not talking about examination point of view. And another thing is, so far as examination is concerned, we look at examinations as something which is different from life. Then, and this pandemic has shown us that we can actually do away with examinations. Rather, we give examinations every day in life,
Yes,
while
yes.
dealing a mental
Yeah.
stress, it's also an examination. While
Yes.
cooking, it is also an examination. While preparing while stitching a small torn cloth, which we need to wear, it is also a kind of examination. And
Yes.
craft should, I believe, craft should be, involved with all these kind of day-to-day life activities. Now,
Yeah,
how
I'll
can
come.
we inspire the children, to look at craft as a way of life, to look at craft as something which we need to acquire to make our lives more beautiful?
Yes, yes. Yes, Parashamani, that was a wonderful take on. And it is very, I can totally agree with this, not only in small town actually, this kind of mental setup that only doctors and engineers, they are the, right professionals. So both of your question actually is about changing the mindset. See, even if you are a doctor and engineer, art and craft is an integral part of human endeavor that one has to get into it. And education system is one system where you can spread that knowledge. Number one, we can be a instrument in changing that mindset. And since you have brought in the pandemic time itself has shown that only functional thing will not give you space for survival. Otherwise, hundreds of uploading of videos. Nowadays, you see even a middle class, middle aged woman is dancing and uploading video. What is the psychology behind it?
Yes,
Because the art form, without art, even one video became very viral of a doctor from one medical college,
yes,
Medical
yes,
College. He was doing moonwalking
yes,
and he was entertaining the patients, and he was
yes,
interviewed with BBC because both the patient and the doctor, the pandemic had
yeah,
such depressing effect that dance itself, that performance hit. So the pandemic has given us that realization that art, craft is a part of art. Art and culture is our survival spectrum. It is not something out there. It is a part of us. Without it, it might not have functional, repercussion like, okay, you earn this much. But without it, imagine a life without it. It is a part. It is like breathing, that has to be registered. And while
yes, ma'am.
making our curriculum, we have to make this rational clear. Problem is, we as teacher, we do not know how to say this. The moment we start saying this, why you need to do this, you might not earn 1 crore out of this. One day, of course, you will earn. Initially, you might not. You will have to make your niche, but it will give you the mental health. It is for your mental well-being. It is for your human, emancipation as an individual. Everything has stopped because of this. Till Renaissance, people had. If you read the old Sanskrit text, I am mesmerized by reading this because there are some good reference that each and every, Janapada and in their alleys, there were recitation programs, performance programs. That was the lifestyle of old India. Everybody, all the Amatyas and merchants, even he was a merchant, but at the same time, he knew how to recite.
I just want to thank all the TISA participants and especially to Dr. Mausumi Kandali. She has thrown out a very beautiful and informative lecture, and our participants were greatly benefited out of it. We could not extend the interaction session much because we have the second session now, and second session is on a Satriya dance. So we need at least 5 to 10 minute preparation time here in front of, because she is doing, expert is doing the session from our office only. So I have to made up the things. Anyway, thank you all, and let us headed for the second session. Thank you.